Hi everyone and welcome to the French Watch Collector. Today on the bench we can see we have a vintage Rolex, an old one actually, and I got this watch from auction, and actually this watch is going to be from one of my family, so yeah, I want to take care of this watch. And you can see straight away the bracelet is not very in good condition, so we're gonna see what we can do about this bracelet. You can see there is some spring action inside this bracelet, which is quite nice actually, so that it can explained with the heat or anything. It's not something that they do anymore, obviously with Rolex. You have some adjustment in the clasp, but on the bracelet, we don't have this kind of tension around, this kind of spring action with the bracelet. You can see the case is in nice condition, and a very nice dial. I love the dial on this Rolex. You can see the patina on it, this kind of yellow, almost burn type of finish on the dial. So that's very special. Yeah, we're gonna see. You can see there is the paper that was with the auction. I said you can see even you have a kind of invoice that this watch was serviced with Rolex. I think in 1999. Yeah, so that's very old, and there is all the information that was done previously on this watch. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a full restoration, a full service on this watch, and actually inside there is a pretty old Rolex Caliber. We're gonna see, and we're gonna fully restore and fully service this Caliber inside the watch. So first we're gonna remove this bracelet. You can see there we're just removing the pins inside, this kind of spring bars there. And we will take care of the bracelet at the end of this video and see if we can restore. And you can see the marking as well on this bracelet there. And let's see if there is any marking inside. But yeah, I think everything is on the outside, and you can see it's not really in good shape. So we're gonna try to restore that. Actually, it's the first time that I will restore one of these very old bracelets. We see what we can do. And what we're gonna focus on right now is actually the main part of the watch, the case with the caliber inside. And you can see the case is quite in good shape. Looks like it was already polished, I guess, by Rolex, but the polishing on a case back is quite old. And not very nice. I've just managed to remove, you see the case back with a rubber ball there. And let's see what we can find inside. And you can see the marking there. Actually, it's kind of graining on the top. It's not very well done by Rolex. But yeah, we're gonna see first what's inside this watch and what we'll have to restore. Look at this beauty, a very old automatic caliber from Rolex, 1030, which is a caliber number. And look how beautiful. You see the 1030 caliber number there, 25 joules. And you see this rotor is very different compared to the rotor that we see today on the Rolex Caliber, very different. So I'm really very curious to service this Caliber and disassemble everything. And let's check what's inside the case back. You can see that's a strange one actually. We have a 6080, which is 8084, which is crossed, and 6580 underneath there. And I check online, actually the 6580, it looks like it was done like that on all the case. The 6584 was crossed, and another engraved was added on a case back. That's very curious actually from Rolex, but I found a few of these watches online, and it's exactly the same marking that was on the watch. Now I'm just removing, you see, the automatic winding with this big rotor on top of it. Just very gently, just lifting it up there. Here we go. Perfect. And you can see the watch actually is not running that bad. Yeah, the amplitude at 280, which is very nice. But yeah, it's gaining 24 seconds per day. So yeah, I think we can adjust that. But yeah, we'll do a full service anyway on it because we saw it on the paper. The last service from Rolex was from 99. So if no service was done in between, we have to do a full service just to make sure when I give it to one of my favorite family member, the watch is perfect. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take out the caliber out of the case just by removing these screws, which has a flat end. So we need to align with the case and we will be able to take the caliber out of the case. And now I'm just removing the winding stem. You see there. And now we should be able to take out the caliber outside. Just going to rotate. You see the caliber here. And we should be able to, just by lifting, turning it around, just lift the case out of the way. Perfect. Just checking the case. You see there you have, as always with Rolex, you have a serial number on this side, and on the other side you will have the reference number from the watch, which is the same I was inside the case bag, the 6580. So that's perfect. Just going to put back the winding stem here. Just need to screw it in position just to make sure when we pull and adjust the time, the winding stem doesn't come out. And now I'm just going to remove this beautiful end, and I love the second hand on this watch with the blue and this lollipop end. Like we have this round circle on the short side of the second hand, which is beautiful. And I'm just going to store them inside this box where I'm going to put the dial a bit later on. But first I have to remove the dial, and for that we need to unscrew the dial fit screw there underneath. So we have two dial screw there. So I'm just going to remove on one side and now on the other side. And we should be able to lift the dial. So we're going to go very gently, you see, with a plastic tool there, not to damage anything. Just going to go underneath and go around very slowly. And we're going to lift it up ever so slightly. There we go, perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to put back the dial inside this box just to make sure it stay nice and safe inside this box. Okay, so now we have the caliber and we're going to start disassembling the caliber. So first we have the calan pinion there, where I'm removing with my Presto tool there from Bergeron. You see there it's just friction mounted, so we remove the calan pinion, and now we're going to fully disassemble this caliber, remove every part, and obviously we're going to clean all the parts from these beautiful 9030 calibers and keep them as new as possible. And obviously we're going to reassemble this caliber and re-oil, re-grease, and check if anything needs to be done on this caliber just to make it as perfect as it was as the first day out of the factory from Rolex. So we're going to remove first, that's automatic winding mechanism. So gonna remove a couple of parts there, and we're gonna disassemble the rest a bit later on. Just keep it on the bench for now. And now basically what we have a caliber which is manual, fully manual. You can see some Rolex manual calibers which are very close to this one. For example, if you take the 1520 or 1525, the manual caliber like this one, they will be very similar to this one. And as well, if you did not subscribe to the channel, please click on the subscribe button. I will put like more video on the channel, so you can click as well on the bell icon. And if you like the video, you can click on the thumbs up, and it will help as well to grow my channel. So thank you in advance for that. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just taking out the balance, which is very, very fragile, especially with this hairspring. You see this blue hairspring which is inside, very thin, and any dents or any things that can go wrong with the hairspring, it will get damaged. And it's very difficult to put it back in position. It takes a lot of time. So that's always with the balance assembly. I just take it out as soon as I can from the watch, and we can start disassembling the rest right now. Taking out the palette fork. And now you can see there you will have the second pinion, which is actually mounted differently on this watch. You see that's a spring, which are just removing right now. We'll see when we put it back. And we have this long second pinion you see there, which is directly attached to the second hand. And we have this wheel, which is friction mounting, which I'm removing there with a Presto tool as well, which is connected to the wheel, which is a train of wheel, which is underneath the bridge. We will see when we put it back together. And now I carry on disassembling the rest of the parts with the ratchet wheel, the click there. We're checking all the parts, and we see the click spring here, just to be very gentle with it, just to make sure it doesn't jump. You see, I keep it in position with my plastic probe there. And just where you see, it's there is a groove inside the main plate there, inside the plate. So I need to go very gently, and here we go. Now the spring is free, and we can carry on with the crown wheel here, with these two screws on top. And you can see the caliber there. Actually, it's quite in good shape. It's not that dirty. The parts are quite clean. We don't see any rust, so it means that the watch was not exposed too much to the rust, or the seals, the O-rings that was on the watch was in good shape or not too bad. So anyway, we're gonna replace all the O-ring on this watch. But yeah, the case, like the state of this watch is not too bad actually. So that's a good news. Just checking the handshake, you see there on all the wheels, if there is any jewels to adjust. But on this watch, it was actually quite good. But you need to always check the handshake. Any place in between the parts, you can see there on the main plate, there is not too much place, so there is no adjustment that need to be done. Just removing, you see this spring here to get access to the jewel that we're gonna clean. And now I'm removing, you see, the bridge, which is on top of the train of gears there. I'm just removing each wheels and just checking if everything is okay, like there is no damage on each wheels. Just checking the pivot point if they're fine and looks good. So that's a good news. And now we just moved on the dial side. We're gonna disassemble the keyless work. And you can see there is a pretty standard keyless work. Obviously on this watch there is one complication, which is a automatic winding system. There is no other complication, like sometime on other Rolex you can have a date complication, and even more, like for example if you go to a chronograph, like for example the Daytona, which I have done as well on this channel. But yeah, this one is pretty simple in terms of complication, only the automatic. So yeah, we have to just disassemble the keyless work, the last few parts. And you can see all the parts on my bench, which I keep everything by groups if you want. For example, I have the keyless work group, I have the train of wheel group, I have the Mainspring, like if you want a group. So yeah, and that's easier to watch the parts by group, and as well easier to reassemble the watch a bit later on using the parts by group. Okay, I'm just disassembling, you see there, the springs as well from the shock system. And I'm just grabbing the jewels. I will just peg as well, you see, with a piece of wool there, all the jewel, and just removing like the dry oil or grease. And it will help when we put all the parts inside the cleaning machine. It would be the cleaning would be more efficient like this if I removed or detached all the big parts or grease or oil on the jewels. Just placing back the balance wheel just to make sure we keep it safe during cleaning on top of the main plate. Just grabbing the jewels like I did on the other side. And now I'm just going to disassemble. You remember the automatic winding subassembly. So there is few parts inside this automatic subassembly. We can see there, we're going to remove this small bridge on top. And we can see underneath like this part which are used for the winding the mechanism in both, if the rotor turn in both direction. Obviously, when you wind the mainspring, we'll see later on, we're going to disassemble the mainspring and put back a new one. But obviously, the mainspring, you can only wind it in one direction, but your rotor can turn left to right or right to left. And this wheel there that just disassemble just makes that everything goes to one direction inside the mainspring. And this is a mainspring when we rewind the watch, which is manually or automatically in this model. And we're going to fully disassemble the barrel assembly and remove, you see, the mainspring inside, just to make sure we clean everything. And as well, I don't know when this spring was used or just changed, and actually the barrel just jammed there. It didn't go very far, but you see actually inside is very dirty because you need to put a special grease for automatic winding watches. But it's quite dirty. And what we're going to put all the parts inside some baskets, and these baskets will go inside a cleaning machine I'm going to put a bit later on. And that's why you see each part, and you see like all the smaller one there, I'm putting in a small baskets, and after we're going to put the other parts in bigger baskets, and all of this will go inside my cleaning machine. Okay, so now everything is ready to go inside the cleaning. So I'm using a vintage Elma cleaning machine, and I do it in 4 steps. First, we're going to clean the parts. Secondly and thirdly, we're going to clean the parts. We're going to clean the cleaning product and rinse if you want. And the last step, we're going to do some drying, and that's it for the cleaning. I would like to use this opportunity to tell you that I have a Patreon page, and you can find a link down below in the description. And I would like to thank my existing patrons, so Marcus, Philip, Roger, Matt, David, Shabil, Jan, Cornet, Alan, David, Tony, Tim, and Gregory. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting me. And if you want to go to my Patreon website, you will be able to support my channel. And as well, you can follow these parts and this video on 4K without any a commercial from YouTube, and it will be I guess for you much better to see the video. So you can go there on my Patreon and see and help my channel. Thank you so much in advance. So now I'm gonna do, like, all the parts are clean, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna first do a treatment on some of the parts. We're gonna do what we call an epilam treatment, and the epilam will help the parts to retain the oil on the surface, not to spread the oil. We not spread on the surface. So we're gonna do it on the jewels, on the pallet fork, and as well on the escape wheel. Just removing, you see the epilam there on a pivot point as well, using this technique. Do it on both sides, obviously. And when the part is done, we're gonna put you see a drop of oil. And that's what the epilam is used for, to keep this drop of oil right in the center and not to spread. And we're going to encapsulate the drop inside what we call a chaton inside, Just do the same thing on the other side. You can see there, I'm filming like a bit further away, and look at the size compared to my fingers on these parts there. Okay, and when these jewels are fully oiled, we're gonna put them back inside the balance assembly. And this drop of oil that we put inside will help the balance staff, which is a pivot point of the balance, to be fully lubricated. So it will reduce the friction, and it will prevent the wear on the parts with being some oil inside there. And now I'm just closing. You see this spring that I found very, very nice. This type of spring, kind of clover shape on top of it. And there you see, just need to small rotation there just to close this spring in position. Perfect. And on the other side, you see we have this jewel there, which is kept in position with a screw. So this is a jewel for the escape wheel. Perfect. And now I'm just going to check, just blowing some air on it and just checking if the balance is balancing perfectly. And if the air spring, you're going to see there, I'm just going to check if it's fully flat, if it's fully concentric, if there is no bend or anything on an air spring. And actually on this watch, it's looking perfect. So now it's fully oiled, fully clean. And I'm just putting some oil, you see, on the jewels that I just put back on the other side for the escape wheel, using my automatic oiler. Okay, so we're gonna reassemble the barrel assembly. And you can see there, I'm just putting some grease on the wall. Being an automatic watch, it means that the watch never stops winding, if you want. Like, you will not have a block like if you have on a manual watch. When you wind a manual watch, at one point you cannot wind it anymore. It will have a full stop. But on the automatic, actually the spring will slide on the wall that you saw on this barrel, and that's why we put some grease just to retain it, but as well to be able to slide on the side. So I'm just putting, you see, a brand new mainspring inside the barrel. And all the new mainspring are already fully greased, so we don't need to put some grease on the bottom and on the top of the barrel, just on the side like we just done. And what we're gonna do now, I'm just gonna use this Horotech tool there just to close it in position. Just gonna go one more time just to make sure it's fully closed. Perfect. And what I'm going to do next, you see oil there with my automatic oiler, the barrel arbor. And now I'm going to put this jewel, you see, on the train of wheel bridge on top of the train of wheel. And you see this spring there is always tricky to put in position, so you need to be very careful that they don't jump. So you need to go very slowly. And you need to put these two arms on the spring, and you have the last one here. So I need to go underneath the groove. It's not yet in full position. Perfect. Now it is in position. We're going to use as well what we did on the other side, the automatic oiler, and just put a drop of 9010 inside the jewel there. Perfect. And what we're going to do now, we're going to fully reassemble each single parts of the caliber. Starting there, you see, with the train of wheel, with all the different wheels, starting from the escape wheel. We're going to go to the center wheel. And you see I'm aligning each wheel inside the jewels, so the pivot point of each wheel, inside the jewel. And we're going to do the same thing on the bridge I'm gonna put on the top. You see there, and you see the parts, how beautiful they are. They are so nice. And actually, this watch, yes, I told you, like the caliber, the 1030. Actually, if you have any information on this caliber, please put some comment down below. I will be very happy, like if you show and share your knowledge on all the community there. And yeah, and that's why I'm sharing my video as well to you guys, to share everything I do, everything I like on watches. And this watch is actually quite old. I think, if I remember, and you can check on a serial number, this watch is probably from 54, if I remember. And yeah, so this is a very old Rolex, but it's a very old automatic Rolex. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's not probably one of the first one automatic Rolex. It will be, but obviously it's one it's one of the old automatic Rolex, and you can see the caliber is nothing compared to what you can find today, because obviously there is like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 generation of caliber which are, let's say, closer to each other with some obviously upgrades on each calibers. But like you see, this one is very different compared to the current, let's say, automatic caliber from Rolex. And you can find some video on my channel. I service like a lot of different Rolex, including Daytona, but Datejust, and any Submariner, any GMTs, and you will see like the calibers are very different compared to this one. This is a very early automatic caliber from Rolex, and that's why I love that. I love to work on this piece of history, obviously, to keep them in shape. People be able to wear their watch and using them. And if you do a proper service like regularly, a watch will last for centuries. Yeah, and that's why it's very important. Like, for example, this type of calibers, just to maintain them and do a proper service once in a while, because obviously, like, this watch, like I said, is from, I think, 1954. If you try to find some parts from 1954, you will not find many of these parts. So you will have to redo them if you can make them, and they will be very, very, very expensive. So if you like your watch and if you want to take care of them, I will advise, especially on these vintage watches, you need to take care of them, because yeah, obviously it will cost you a lot of money if you don't maintain them, if you want to repair an issue. And as well, for me, they are piece of history. So yeah, you need to maintain them, yeah, in a proper way. Okay, so we removed and we reassembled like quite a lot of parts already, and now you see I just started to grease some parts on the keyless work. So we have the winding wheel there, the winding pinion. We have the clutch we just put in the center there, and I'm just gonna put like the winding stem, and you see, using this blue grease there, which is some 9504 from Moebius. Like yeah, it's a grease obviously thicker than the oil that I use, or the oil, because these parts will see like a lot of tension between each other. So you need you want to have something with a bit more viscosity on it, so that's why you use this blue grease there. Just gonna put a setting lever there. You see it's screwed from the other side. So I'm just keeping with one finger, I just screw it in position. Perfect. And we can carry on. Just gonna put, you see that now I'm putting some oil here with my automatic oiler. On the pivot point, we're gonna put some parts a bit later on. And you see there on this ruby there, because I will not have access to this ruby when I put the wheel on top of it a bit later on. I'm gonna put the yoke, you see here, which will go through the center of the clutch on this groove. Just gonna put to see some grease there, because this part will get some interaction between the setting lever and the yoke. And you see this spring there is adding the tension between the parts. And that's why we put this blue grit there. Just putting back the current pinion, and you can see that it's just not going in position. So I just need to put it on metal, because actually the bridge underneath was bending when I was pushing on it. Just putting the rest of the wheel, and we have the setting lever spring there. I would go on top of that, keeping all the part together. And actually, like this name is saying, it's a spring, you will see on the setting lever. Just need to align there all the different holes and parts very gently. There we go. Just missing one alignment here. Perfect. I can put now the screw there, you see, keeping the setting lever spring in position. And we're gonna arm, you see, that's the spring, this arm there. There we go. Now it's in position. I'm just gonna grease as well. You see this contact point between the spring and the setting lever. And you see now we have the two positions, one which is for winding, the first position, and the second position obviously is to adjust the time. And that's what the keyless fork is, the goal of the keyless fork is when you pull, just to put the information to the right parts and to be able to change the time or to be able to wind the watch. Okay, so now we just move on the balance side. We are gonna put the pallet fork. Gonna align it, you see, on this cock there on top of it. You see, I need to align the pivot point on the jewel. Need to go very slowly. You just want to do that before putting the screw, because if I put the screw and tighten the parts, it will smash in pieces the pivot point. So just need to align each wheel, and that's it. You see that? Now it's just line up perfectly, and I can tighten the parts perfect. Just gonna wind the watch now, give it a good wind. And we're gonna do, after winding the position, the watch, we're gonna do and oil like the different rubies on the parts. And for this I do it under the microscope, because it's very small. And you see there, I'm just gonna put a drop of oil on the exit pallet stone from the pallet fork. So I'm using some 9415 there. Obviously you do that 3 times, because you're going to put a drop of oil. Just move 3 teeth to oil 3 teeth on the escape wheel. And you have 15 teeth on the escape wheel, so you need to do it 3 times to make sure everything is oiled perfectly. So this is the 3rd time. And after that, we're going to oil obviously all the jewels on the train of wheel that need to be oiled, all the jewels that need to be adjusted and oiled with the right oil, because you see there is different type of oil. You see there on the center wheel, putting some 9104, and obviously on some other I will put some 9010. This is some 9010 here. Perfect. We're just going to do the same thing as well. You see there is on the barrel arbor from the barrel assembly. We're just going to do the same thing as well on the jewels on the die side. Again, it's just to make sure like the friction is reduced to a minimum, and as well that there is no wear between the parts here. And you can see there the pallet fork is clicking, so the power is coming to the pallet fork. So now we can put the balance assembly, and I hope the watch will be able to start. The caliber will be able to start again. Very gently putting in position. Oh yeah, and straight away, perfect. Straight away when it started, so we can secure that with the screw here. Perfect. Just gonna remove the power because what we're gonna do now, gonna reassemble. You remember it was the second pinion, and for that I need to put as well this friction wheel, which is need to be mounted with friction on an extended pivot from the wheel, which is underneath on the train of wheel. So you see there, I'm just putting the wheel by hand now, and you will see later on, I'm gonna adjust it to the correct height. Just, you see, putting some oil there on the second pinion. And the second pinion is going through, you see, the center wheel there, which is where there is a hole. Just gonna press it in position. And obviously it's connected to this wheel that we just put in position. And on top of this second end, like the second pinion, you have this spring. And actually this spring is giving a bit of tension on the second end, because you want to have a second end, like when it's beating on the dial, you want it to be smooth. You don't want to have it like stop, start, stop, 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 start. And you want it to have always a smooth rhythm. And actually this spring there just keep a bit of tension to make sure there is no jump on a second, everything stays smooth here. And that's why you need to put this spring on a second pinion there. Now it's assembled, and you see I just adjusted the height of this wheel. We rewind the watch, and now we're gonna focus on the automatic winding. Just gonna reassemble. Remember this sub-assembly that there is on the automatic winding. Again, we're gonna oil every pivot point just to reduce the friction and just to make sure the parts don't wear between each other. So we have this system with this reversing wheel. Like I said, doesn't really matter in which way the rotor is going to turn. The output is going to be always the same direction for the winding of the mainspring. Yeah. So we're going to reassemble this reversing wheel there. There we go. And we're going to reassemble that on this bridge here. Reassemble as well all the pivot point. I love as well on this Rolex, like the details as well. You can see all this round that there is on the parts from this, and actually there was some a type of finishing that was done on the watch at this time. And actually on this Rolex, like the calibers are very nicely decorated. So yeah, it's always nicer when you work on the watchmaker bench, when the watch is nicely decorated. It's even better for the eyes. So yeah, I love that. So yeah, I love Rolex because actually the calibers they're quite nice. Like for example, it's not to say about any brand, but for example, you talk about Seiko. Seiko are great calibers, fantastic calibers, but you can see obviously it's not the same value, and the finish on the calibers are much simpler. But it's always nicer when you work on the watch with nice decoration on it. It's always better for the eye. Okay, so I'm just putting back now the automatic winding system. Just realigning, you see this wheel inside the jewel as well there. Very gently, just to make sure we don't damage anything. Just moving it ever so slightly. Yeah, here we go, perfect. Now it's aligned. Okay, and so now we're gonna put the screws. And you can see like all the marking on the watch adjusted in 5 position and temperature as well. So yeah, that was quite already back in the day, a lot of quality control. And just to say, actually, already Rolex is like today is famous like for it's like very good quality. Obviously, maybe today they are paid maybe a bit too much for what it is, but the quality of a Rolex Caliber and a Rolex watch is known to known. Yeah, it's very strong. And actually, you see already like in 1954, they were doing things like in terms of quality and quality control that was very high. And you can see on these calibers as well from this era, they are quite solid, yeah. And obviously the reputation of Rolex today being like a sport watch, very tough, like a tank, is coming already from this history. Yeah. And you can see it already on like probably since the beginning. It was the decision and if you want in terms of marketing and everything, it was already probably in this era. And you can see it and you can feel it on the Caliber already from 1950s, yeah. And that's what makes Rolex as well still today, yeah. So yeah, that's quite good. That's very cool to see that. I'm just did a quick polish on the hand, you see there, and there is obviously the hands, they have kind of patina, a little bit of rust, but it gives obviously you can repolish if you want the hand, but it's not a vintage Rolex anymore. So I just did a quick polish just to give it a bit of shine, but obviously we're gonna redo, and like if it's a brand new set of hands, it will not tie up with the dial, because the dial obviously I want to keep this vintage look on the dial. And now I'm just realigning, you see, and just checking if everything is aligned. Yeah, perfectly between the second and the minute hand. And this beautiful second hand there. I love the blue one and this kind of lollipop end on the short side there. Just press it in position. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna change all the gasket and all the O-rings on the watch. So obviously on this one there is 3 gaskets, one in the crown, one in the tube, and one on the case back. So now I'm putting brand new one. I'm just first going to grease them. And then I'm just going to put them back in position. First we're going to put the one inside the tube there. Perfect. Gonna put one inside on the back side, obviously, of the case back. And the last one will be the one inside on the bottom of the crown. So first we need to remove the crown from the caliber. I'm just gonna vacuum, you see there, the case back and the crystal, just to make sure we don't trap any dust inside the case and on the dial, just to make sure it's perfect. And you see now it's clean and just dust free. Gonna put the case back, the caliber inside the case. Just putting the last gasket you see inside the tube. Perfect. Just gonna put back, you see the winding stem inside the case and the caliber. Obviously, being a Rolex and being an automatic one, this one, you will have a screw down crown, which is like I think on many and most of the Rolex, I think there is maybe few exceptions, but most of even the manual ones from already since a long time, they were like screw down crown. Again, like I said, just to make sure like there is no water inside the watch. You will have, obviously, we saw just 2 gaskets already, one in the tube, one in the tube. And you can see there, I could not put back the rotor because the post like is sitting to the like too far down. So gonna remove, you see, this sub-assembly, and I'm just gonna reassemble first, you see, the rotor in position, and you see here this is pivot point here that I need to press, you see, the one I'm pressing right now. You need to be aligned. And now everything is in position. I'm just going to use this kind of shear clips, but I'm not sure, like it's a part which will spring and will keep the rotor in position. It's kind of a C clips, you see. Perfect. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put back the automatic winding on top of the watch. And basically, we're going to put it back like we did it the first time, just put back the screws. And normally, we should have the automatic winding, which is fully working again. Perfect. So yeah, that's the screws in position. And I found this vintage caliber from Rolex. Beautiful. To me, it's a piece of history. This Rolex, I love it. Yeah, just oiling like all the pivot points. Just gonna put back the case back, and you remember we just put a new gasket inside. Just screw now the case back, and we finish to screw it on a machine. So for this, I'm using my Horotech press just to tighten the case back. You can see and find a link down below if you want. It's a custom press from Horotech, and you will have the link down below in the description. So if you want to go, don't hesitate. They are wonderful tools just to open and close watches. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to see what we can do. And you can see there is some parts of the bracelet which are broken. And actually, I found out it's like you can open like the different parts of this caliper, of this bracelet, sorry. And you see inside you have some springs. So you see this one actually is broken. Normally it should have a like kind of a Z shape. You can see this one. This one is a brand new one that I managed to find online. Just gonna put it back inside. And actually there is a couple of springs that was broken like this one. So I'm just gonna change the broken spring. And basically what I need to do, I just need to put it back in position. And we should be able to close, you see, even by hand, you should be able to close this part of the bracelet. There we go. And now we're gonna put back this on the rest of the bracelet. So we need to close as well this link here. So it's quite tricky to do with the spring which are in the way. But I managed to do it, you see, on this one with a screwdriver, just to put the spring where they need to be. And the first step, I managed to close all, you see, these links by hand. Okay, and you can check now. Well, you see the gap is too much. I'm gonna adjust that, but you can see the spring now is working perfectly, where it was actually broken when we got the watch. And you can see it was some gaps on the bracelet. And you can see there as well, there is one part of the bracelet that was dented. So we'll see a bit later on if we can remove the dent. So you see that another broken spring there. And what I'm going to do now with a plier, I'm going to close the gaps on these links there, just to make sure they are fully flat and fully joined to, like you see, there is a dent there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use, and again, going to remove this part, and I'm using my riveting tool there just to tap it with a flat rivet, just to make sure like the dent is gone. I will do that a few times, and you will see at the end, actually, the dent will be fully gone. They're like, we don't see the dent anymore. And you see, like that's the parts that I just made flat again. Just close it in position. Perfect. Just checking like the spring, yeah, looks good. Nice in position, perfect. We're gonna reassemble, obviously, the different part of the bracelet. Gonna put it back on this clip, and obviously, I don't want to repolish this bracelet. Like, it's a vintage watch. I guess this watch was sent to Rolex to be polished, you see, like on the case. But I don't want to, I just want to keep it as normal, if you want. I don't want a brand new Rolex from 1994. So I will just obviously fix the issues that was on the bracelet, like for example, the springs, the gaps, the dent. But I don't want to polish it. I just want to keep it, I just want to keep it normal, like I said. Okay, so I'm just going to put back the spring bar now in position on the case back. Just going to do the other side. Just put back the second spring bar here. Perfect. And that's it. Look at this. Everything is working nicely. Like there is no part of the bracelet which are fully loose. Yeah, it's fully spring now, and there is no dent anymore. A big dent that was damaged. And let's check this beauty already. What we're gonna do now? I'm just gonna put it on an automatic winder, and we're gonna put it on a typographer to see the result. But first, I would like to tell you after this automatic winding is fully done, I have my own website. You can find the link down below in the description of this video. I will put a link as well on the top right corner. You can go to my website. You will find some history on the channel. You will see as well some of the watches which are for sale, which are as well serviced and restored by myself. And if you want to send your Rolex, for example, like for example this one for service, you can contact me on my website, and I will be very happy to work on your watch. So just found the link down below in the description. And you can see the result just after a few hours of turning on automatic winding. The amplitude is at 294, which is pretty good. The bit error perfect at 0. And you see the watch is not losing any time. The amplitude will rise up a bit after with time. But the winding and the time on this watch is working perfectly right now. So I'm very happy with the result. You can see now the result on this watch, this beautiful vintage Rolex. I hope you like the video, and I hope to see you on my next video. Bye bye.